Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Real Ones Canes podcast. I am laughing because Cam Underwood, who is, if you're watching, is the man next to me with the shiny, bald, sexy head. He's already waving to everybody. He wants everybody to see Cam and that he's awesome. And he is awesome. He's the managing editor of State of the U, and he could not be any better at that job than he already is. He's amazing at stateoftheu.com. Go check it out. All the free possibly want 24/7, 365, and it's free. Cam Underwood, follow him at Underwood Sports on Twitter. I'm Brian the Beast London. Follow me at Miami Radio Beast. Cam, I am sure you are exhausted from the amount of work you have done over the past 48, 72 hours getting ready for what happened yesterday. We are recording this on Thursday, December 4th. Yesterday was National Signing Day. The Miami Hurricanes brought in 30 talented high school players. You covered it all on stateoftheu.com, but let's dig right in. Starting with the offense. Well, you know what? Before we do that, I want to backtrack for a second.
Okay.
Let's
Hi,
go
everybody.
here.
Yeah.
Say hi. Let's go here. One, we have to make sure that everyone subscribes and likes and thumbs up and comments so that everyone knows about this great show. And listen, we did a live event the other night after those sham CFP rankings came down. We had a bunch of viewers. Cam, like 4,000 plus people have viewed that stream since.
Nice.
Between the multiple YouTube channels it's on. So we appreciate you. And we're going to do it again on Sunday, I believe, somewhere in the noon hour. We'll let people know. And I would not let the kids watch because Cam is liable to throw many bad words out.
No, I mean, this is a work-friendly SFW, safe for work thing. So I will, refrain from the foul language. I will save that for stateoftheu.com because I can curse on there all I want to. But yeah, honestly, I don't even know how much more vitriol I have. I told you I've already been checked out on this. I've already accepted.
Yeah, but you see, but here's the thing,
right?
And I know this about you because I'm the same way as right. Like it's our alma mater. So we have this love for the Miami Hurricanes, like every other Canes fan, right? Like deep love for the Canes. And I don't want to say that I'm better than another Canes fan because I went to school there, but it's like a different kind of emotional connection to our alma mater. You went to school there, I went to school there, and when we see our alma mater being wronged, it brings like a different level of emotion, a different kind of emotion than just, hey, I'm a fan, my team got screwed. And I think that's why if we are not in the final rankings that come down Sunday, you'll still find a way to be emotional. You will not be void of emotions.
Yeah, you're probably right. But I mean, the majority of the bad emotions have already gone through. But I mean, hey, it'll still be interesting for everybody one way or another. And hey, maybe I'm wrong. And maybe the committee stops their coordinated corrupt campaign against the Hurricanes and puts us in the playoff. That would be wonderful. That would be a very different emotion. I don't think I'm going to access those positive emotions, but we shall see.
I will. I may take my shirt off if that's the case. I may go streaking if we get in. I don't want to like get you too hopeful on that, but I'm just saying. All right, let's talk about recruiting now. Yesterday was signing day, and listen, I readily admit I do not follow recruiting. Sure, like I'll read some stories. Like if a video comes up on my timeline, I'll watch it. Certainly, like I've watched some interviews with Jackson Cantwell and some of the other guys, but I'm not Recruitnik. I certainly don't put the time and effort in that you do or a bunch of other people that cover the Canes. So let's start the 35,000-foot view. How did Miami do yesterday as far as signing day goes?
Miami did very well. Miami, for the fourth consecutive year, top 10 class. Or sorry, third year out of four. I think last year was 13. The fourth year in a row with the highest ranked class in the ACC by far. The most talented roster in the ACC by far. And I think that they addressed all of the current issues in the wonderful world of recruiting. I say current because there's going to be attrition from the roster. There's going to be transfers. So there's going to be, a couple little things that you're going to have to spackle over. It's like, I have all this stuff in the second bedroom of this apartment. When you hang stuff in an apartment, I know you don't own or rent an apartment anymore.
No, but trust me, before I've been an apartment guy. Trust me.
Right, but you hang your pictures. You also, and you have just like those little things. You got just a little bit of something over. You know what I mean? Not redoing drywall completely, but just a little couple patches to make sure that everything.
Right.
That's what Miami's going to have to do in the transfer portal. Now, the thing about it is, one of those things that you're going to have to patch is probably going to be quarterback. So that's more of a DIY renovation thing. But otherwise, I mean, when you look at this this class, it really hits and it does everything that you need it to do. I mean, it's not perfect. So please don't let perfect be the enemy of good, because people love doing that. But you have a quarterback, which is recruiting rule number one. I mean, you add speed, you add size, you add talent, in a variety of factors. You add great potential at a lot of places. I think that there are some more finished products who kind of maybe have a high floor, low ceiling, but there's also the best player in America. You know what I mean? With pretty much unlimited ceiling. Multiple guys at every single position. I've been saying it for years. So even before I took over for Brandon and co-hosting this show, but from the moment that the Maui Noa Okunlola offensive line class signed 3 years ago, I said, cool, start your clock 3 cycles from now. So 2 cycles, really. That next cycle after is when you're going to have to reload. And I think that we're there. We've seen some of the guys transfer out from that class. Francis Maui Noa is about to be a first-round draft pick, so he's gone. So things like that. But you address that with a massive, one of the best, I think the best offensive line class in the country. You get a bunch of talented dudes on the defensive line as well. Really, really great secondary class, which actually includes my favorite player in this entire class over Jackson Cantwell. Spoiler. Even though I love Jackson Cantwell because he's the number one player in the country for, basically the entire cycle until the end. He ends up number 4 in the rankings. But yeah, you did everything that you needed to do. Now, there's a level that I think we would like to get to sooner than later, where we're not 8 to 10 or 8 to 13. Well, I mean, because it's really 10. There's 1 year at 13, but not in that 8 to 10. But we need to be in that 3 to 5, pushing for number 1 kind of range in terms of talent. With just there's a couple 5 stars at the top of the class that we did not get, and I think that would take it to the next level.
All right, I have a couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
What you just said, which is rankings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, you want to be ranked as high as possible. And yes, I'm sure we missed out on some 5 stars that could have improved our ranking. But behind the scenes, I'm just throwing out a hypothetical. Is Mario and his staff saying, well, we think this class is actually the 4th best class in the country. They're not giving this player enough credit. We think they're better than what they're being rated, that sort of thing. There
is a measure of that. Mario, did say, he listed off all of the rankings and everything in his signing day presser yesterday. But then he said, so like there's that from like the exterior, the recruiting services, your on 3s, your 247s, whatever. In the building, they have their own rating scale, and every player that they take needs to in the narrow evaluation of that player. So without regard to anybody else, but this player, basically by his profile and projection, can he help us win conference championships? Can he help us win national championships? Now, some people are going to be conference and not national, and some people like Jackson Cantwell, number 1 player in America, you expect, whatever. But like they have ratings for that. So they think very highly of a lot of people. Obviously in the class. The other thing that's been a bit of a change is really, really centering senior year film and growth in the process.
That was my next question. Why is that so important?
Because it shows immediate proof of concept of the player and the fact that there's been progression over time. For example, there's a player named Kasani Giles from IMG Academy, who was a 5-star prospect after this current class's sophomore year. So after the 2023 high school football season,
right?
Or during, Kasani Giles was listed as a 5-star, all the potential, tall, long-armed, secondary player, maybe corner, maybe safety. But this is a guy who should be at that level. Didn't really grow physically, which was projected a little bit. I mean, so he's still 6 foot, but you expected a little bit of growth there, expected growth and development physically in his game as well. That was not present. Kasani Giles, after all these points of evaluation, and the recruiting industry is getting really good at overall evaluations when given time to find their level and right the wrongs. So if you like going with all the evaluative points through the senior year, water finds its level. Kasani Giles is a 3-star recruit at this point. Didn't really grow in anything. We dropped Kasani Giles a minute ago, right? Because the player that we thought he could have been, he did not end up being. And that's okay. There was a guy years ago. This is a real deep cut for recruiting heads. From back when Roger Harriet was at university school, back when, before they changed their logo and their colors, back when they were yellow and green.
Oh, yeah.
Right? There was a player named Josh Sanguinetti. Same thing. After his freshman year, during sophomore year, 5-star, listed as 6'3" safety, He signed with Indiana a couple of years ago, pre-pandemic. So, like, terrible Indiana, not, this,
right,
whatever, mirage this is. But he signs and he's listed at 5'10", 163 pounds. I'm like, but y'all were saying that he was 6'2", 195 as a sophomore, and then you really see the size and you see that the performance leveled out. And it's one thing to have that level of performance with the time horizon for growth as a freshman or a sophomore in high school. But then when that levels off and other people continue to develop, that's why senior film matters, because you need to see these guys go out there and do it. If you would have just taken this class based upon who they were as sophomores, now Jackson Cantwell would have been number 1 because he was number 1 then. You know who's not even in this class before we even run down? 4-star tight end Gavin Mueller from outside of Chicago. Yep. He was still exclusively playing basketball back then. And he's one of the best tight end prospects in America. But senior film really shows the work that's been done, the coaching that's happened, because these kids go to these camps all over the spring and the summer before their senior year, and they pick up these tips and tricks, and you want to see them, what have they done in the weight room? How's their body changed a little bit? And are they showing up on the field on Friday nights? Gavin Mueller, I'm just going to give a little bit about Gavin Mueller. He is like 6'5", 245, and does not play great competition. He played quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. They played him basically as a wildcat. They're running inverted veer and QB read, and he's just creasing it and going for 70 and 80 yards at a clip, right? He looks like a superhero in comparison to his competition level at that, that level outside of Chicago. The thing about it is, if you're a blue chip prospect of his size and athletic caliber, you would expect him to look like a superhero. Right. And that actually matches up. So when you get all those things together, then you can see, okay, yeah, this is what really matters, because that's also the most complete player, the complete version of that player that you're going to get on your roster. Not the one that you see in the spring after their sophomore year, but what they put on the field as a senior, that's most closely analogous to where their starting point is going to be when they get here. And that's why that matters.
All right, this is going to be a special thing. because we're going to do a 3-segment show. We're going to take a break right now. On the other side, we're going to talk about the offense that Miami brought in on National Signing Day, and then we'll talk about the defense. We'll also tell you who is up for postseason awards, who already won postseason awards. All of that and more coming your way on the other side. It's the Real Ones Canes podcast. Hey, we're back here on the Real Ones Canes podcast. That man to my left or right, I'm not sure how it's going to show up on your phone or computer. If you're watching, is Cam Underwood. If you're listening, I promise you, he's next to me on the screen. He's not here with me in my bedroom, but he's next to me. Don't ask me about that one. Cam Underwood is the managing editor of State of the U. You can follow him at Underwood Sports. I am Brian the Beast London. You can follow me at Miami Radio Beast. Cam, let's talk about the signing class. Let's talk about it, starting with the offense and the quarterback. They did bring in one quarterback in this class, outstanding player out of Lakeland, Florida, Jones High School, Darion Coleman.
Yeah, Orlando Jones is the high school, already wearing Miami Hurricanes colors, orange and green and white. He's been the quarterback there for several years. He traded off with Taven Jackson after he played somewhere else as freshman, and then he transferred in when Taven Jackson was a senior. That would have been 2 years ago, Coleman's sophomore year, and put up good numbers even rotationally as a sophomore. Then, because they played two Power 4 level quarterbacks, then he was the guy the last 2 years there. A very talented arm. People rave about his arm talent. I don't see it as high as they. People are saying it's like A+ arm talent. I think it's B+, maybe A-. Like, I don't think it's super duper top level. I mean, I'm a Lions fan, bro. Like, we had, Matthew Stafford with one of the greatest arms ever on a human being for a long time. Like, he didn't got that kind of arm. Mario Cristobal did say that with all the arm angle and, kind of stuff, there are shades of Cam Ward to his game.
Yeah, I heard that yesterday, and I cringed.
Well, he qualified it too. It's not like, oh, I look at him and I see Cam Ward, but like, there is a little bit of runaround to his game. There are the arm angles and the quick release kind of things. So I could see how those favor. My major personal concern, and I know that I am not as high on Darion Coleman as other people are. So take this with a grain of salt. If you want to go over to insert other website here, that has a very close relationship with Balin Trujillo, who is the quarterback coach that has worked with Coleman for 8 years since he was in 4th grade. Obviously they're going to be over the moon in a way that I personally am not. And that's not hating on anybody. We can disagree without being disagreeable. I just have a different personal viewpoint on it. And my major concern is Coleman is small and he's tiny. He is listed at 6'1.5" inches. I don't think that he is 6 feet tall even. He's listed at 165 pounds. He is small and he is thin. And there are concerns with playing a quarterback of that size. You have to overcome your physical stature with athleticism, instinct, and arm talent. I think he has good instincts. I think he has okay arm talent, but not necessarily enough. And like, just structurally, dude, we have to only be in gun because you can't see over the offensive line. Look, and we're going to talk about the offensive line. Like, think of this year's offensive line. The shortest guy is 6'3". And then you got, 6'9", 6'6", 6'3", 6'6", 6'6". Bro, like, middle of the field's gone. But what do you have to do? You have to tweak things. You have to have different splits on your offensive line. You have to run different concepts in the passing game, because it just, with a player of that small stature, there are concerns that manifest themselves in scheme and performance. And for those reasons, I am very trepidatious. I'm not going to say that he's not talented. He was an Elite 11 player, this year. Obviously, he's had like 7,000 yards passing, I want to say, over 4 years. I think he might have been another player who had 8th grade reps at the high school level. So he's been very accomplished, and he was great on the 7-on-7 circuit, and things like that. And I think that he has a measure of talent. I just personally, quarterbacks that small who are not preternaturally athletic, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, things
Bryce
like that.
Young?
I don't even think that he has the physical talent of Bryce Young, and like all those things that, really, I'm concerned with him being the only quarterback in this class. He is a blue chip player and does have potential, and I could be wrong in everything. Just sharing my viewpoint.
So, did you say let's call it 6 foot, even though we know it's a little bit under?
Yeah.
Did you say 165?
Yeah.
I mean, he'll put on some weight, but like Russell Wilson's like 215.
Yeah,
like,
he's thick, he's stocky.
Right, like even Kyler Murray and Bryce Young, I believe, are both over 200 pounds. Maybe just by a drop of water, but I think they're both listed over 200 pounds. So to be 165, especially if you're mobile and you're running around, like to me, that just screams danger.
But the thing is, he's not even that mobile and isn't that much of a runaround player. Like he's very much a pass first kind of a guy where I move around.
Okay,
but you have to move the launch point for him to be successful. So now we're running schemes that are really a little bit inside the hash to the sideline all the time, because the middle of the field, unless it's the deep, like to the third level, middle of the field, all that's gone because you're not going to hit a shallow crosser, right? You're not going to run stuff there. You're not going to run a spot route right in front of the offensive line. And there were times still Carson Beck was under center, bro. Think about the times that like we ran under center play action.
All right.
You cannot run that with Darion Coleman. So again, I know that I am being very critical. I am picking nits. That is my thing. He is a blue chip talent. He has had great success on the football field. I personally am just not as excited for Darion Coleman as others.
I found a comp. And Canes fans, old school Canes fans, are not going to like this comp. I 50-50 like this comp because even though he devastated Miami fans, he is a masshole like me. Do you know where I'm going with this? One of the arguably the most famous play in college football history, besides the Cal Stanford running through the band. It is one Mr. Doug Flutie. He's
bigger than Doug Flutie, but he's thinner.
Doug Flutie was 5'10", 180 was his listed playing weight.
Yeah, but that's still 15, almost 20 pounds bigger.
Well, I'm going to assume that Darion Coleman's going to put on some muscle and weight.
One would hope.
Okay. Let's move on. Let's get to the running back position. Only one running back, Javian Mallory, West Boca. What's up with Javian Mallory?
Javian Mallory is about 6 foot 210. He led West Boca to their first ever state championship as a junior in high school. This is a kid who's one cut and go. He's big. He's quick in short areas. He did have a couple long touchdowns, but you're not going to see him as a burner or anything. Like you're not going to think that he's Gerard Pringle in terms of speed. He definitely fits what we want to do from a physical standpoint, also a skill set standpoint. From his physical build and the way that he runs the ball. So like the way that he moves on the field, okay, he favors a post-ACL Frank Gore. So not the Frank Gore who first showed up as a freshman, who was, a little bit smaller and, took, 43 blast up the middle for 90 yards, in the fourth quarter games because he was faster than everybody else too. But think of junior Frank Gore had an ACL already, but he had the, big legs, strong build, stocky, and just how he ran and moved on the field in college and then going into the league. That style is resembled with Javian Mallory, another blue chip player, and a good get. He's definitely your more traditional workhorse kind of a back. I would say he can bust a 20 or 30 yarder every now and then, but there was a play, I think it was the first or second game of his senior year. I think he had 98 or 99 yard touchdown, shook a guy in a phone booth right at the line, and then took that. You're not going to get that kind of long speed from him because at high school, yeah, but in college, he's average plus in terms of speed. But that's okay. He can be a very, very good player without having elite top end speed, and I think that he's a good addition to the running back room. Excuse me.
Yeah, and we'll see who comes back from that room and what Miami might have to do in the portal to replace anyone that might leave. All right, let's look at the tight ends. You already brought up Gavin Mueller from just outside of Chicago. Let's talk about the other tight end, Israel Briggs from Clovis, California, which is in the Central Valley near Fresno. What do we know about Israel Briggs?
Yeah, Briggs is a slash player at the high school level. He's like your big wide receiver who's going to be moving inside, a track athlete as well. Actually, kind of an inspiring story. This is a kid who, for the majority of high school, was actually, what do they call it? A displaced local resident, so without a permanent residence and everything. And so he's had to deal with that and, still getting to school, still playing and everything, and also caring for his father who has Parkinson's. Who actually showed up and was there with him on the signing day ceremony. So, very inspiring story for him and everything. And he's somebody who said, I'm not opposed to, going away from home or whatever, because I haven't had a home, I had to grow up at a young age. So a very inspiring story, but also a very impactful player. They ran him on kick and punt returns. You're running, bubble and tunnel screens for him as, a 6'6", 205-pound receiver, but he's going to kick inside to tight end. We're going to see how much blocking they ask him to do. He's probably going to need a mango season to add size to his frame, but he's definitely that movement tight end, that seam option at, a legit, 6'6", going up the seams of the opposing defense. That's where he can really have an impact. And I think that, if he's able to add size over time and block, even reasonably, in the C gaps and, on the outside, I think that he can be a very good player. But he's another blue chip player. He's a top 150 player in America. So, don't get it twisted. This is a very, very, very talented player. So you add him and then Mueller, who has that size, but more of a rounded game. Mueller, again, being a basketball player who's come over to football and played all over both sides of the ball. He also played defensive end and linebacker for his team as well and loves contact. So between those two and then last year's tight end signees, Brock Schott and Luka Gilbert, and a bit of resurgence from Elijah Lofton, I will have to give credit where it's due. He probably has been battling some injuries, but he has come on late. And so with those five probably coming back, I think the tight end room is in a very, very good spot, and I really like this duo.
All right. The one thing I love when looking at recruiting is tall wide receivers. You give me 6'5" at a wide receiver, I get giddy. And Miami's got at least a couple of them in this class of 4 wide receivers. They did a pretty good job there.
Yeah, wide receiver is a very strong group. This is, I want to say, easily the strongest collective group of receivers that we have signed under Mario Cristobal. I said group because I know everybody's going to say, Cam, Malachi Tony, group. Although the year before with Upshaw, Moore, and Malachi Tony ain't nothing to shake a stick at. But yeah, I like this group, especially because there's an extra player as opposed to last year's. And I'm not discounting last year's, but that's how strongly I think about this year. At the number 1 receiver in this class, Samorian Wingo from St. Augustine. This is a kid who was skyrocketed as a senior up into the top 100 players in the country. 6'2", 180. He can play outside. He can play inside. He'd be your number 1 receiver, like the X receiver, like on the left-hand side of the formation. Set it, forget it. This is a kid who hustles. He works hard. He blocks. He runs routes to all levels of the route tree. He scored more touchdowns as a senior, which was kind of a little bit of a concern going forward because he had touchdowns, but maybe not as many as you would think for a blue chip player. Started to really address that. Sky is the limit with Samorian Wingo. Wanted to be a Hurricane, worked on his game, dominated as a senior. So even a blue chip player, that blue chip got more bluer with what he did on the field. So it's not just the bottom of the class, those guys who come into the field of view a little bit. He was already on the radar, and then he skyrocketed even higher. So that's one of them. St. Augustine, if I didn't say, you have from Ohio, you go and get a former Iowa State commit, Milan Paris, Parris, from Walsh Jesuit. Yep. That's your 6'6", 215-pound receiver. Size, speed, combo, runs a variety of routes, had some kick return, punt return touchdowns as well, natural pass catcher and everything. Sky's the limit. And yeah, this is a guy who was committed to Iowa State. They basically were saying Jaden Higgins starred here at Iowa State for 3 years. He went to the NFL. You're 2 inches taller and 10 pounds heavier. Come here and do that and do the same thing. But then when he continued to really dominate, Miami got involved there and got him to flip up off of that commitment. And that's a very, very good get. So that's another top 200 blue chip player at wide receiver. We have Vance Spafford from Mission Viejo, one of the fastest players in America, sub 4.5 laser time. Broke all the records as a sophomore for Mission Viejo, like one of the legacy programs in Southern California from Orange County. Battle a mid-tier injury as a junior, a minor injury as a senior that he's already recovered from, that did rob him of some games as a junior and senior. But this is not like a Robert Burns situation where he had a breakout sophomore year and then never played again before signing at Miami. This is a kid who can play outside and inside. He's about 5'11", but he's not short or any, like, he's not short. He's not tiny. But 5'11", 180 at receiver, you might be able to put a couple pounds on him, but you want to have that speed. So when you talk about getting Malachi Tony last year and then getting Vance Spafford this year, all of them put together, that's, who can play outside and in, really a good get. This is another guy with explosive game-breaking ability in the return games as well, because when you have that kind of speed, I think it's like sub 10.5 in the 100-meter dash. That's for real speed. So you have that. The fourth and final wide receiver, as Mario Cristobal called him at his presser yesterday, Big Tyron Evans, 6'4", 205, from Cornelius, North Carolina. This is a kid who averaged over 27 yards a catch as a junior, continued that level of performance dropped a little bit because he's another guy who had a couple minor injuries as a senior, but still more than 14 yards a catch, I want to say, but a big, well-rounded body and a well-rounded skill set for the receiver room. So then you have Wingo, Paris, Spafford, and Evans, at wide receiver. That's a very, very, very good group. And again, they go 5'11", 6'2", 6'4", 6'6". I'll take it.
Yeah, no, I got giddy when I saw the measurables. Last but not least, on the offense, the offensive line led by Jackson Cantwell, the number one player in the country in my mind, from Nixa, Missouri. But they brought in literally more than an entire offensive line. I think there's 6 or 7 of them. 6, yeah. So 6 offensive linemen. There's a stud after stud after stud.
Pretty much, man. Yeah, this is a great job. I mean, you expected a Mario Cristobal team not to recruit offensive linemen. And again, if you've been reading State of the U and watching other podcasts before I've been on here as the co-host, I've been saying for years, this was a target year to replace the top-end talent. And you start with a player who was the number one player in America for 9/10 of this cycle from when they first were ranked as sophomores. Jackson Cantwell, 6'8", 325 from Nixa, Missouri. Fun fact, that is the town that Jason Bourne, the character, is from. In the books and the movies, David Webb is from Nixa, Missouri, random Southwest Missouri. And it was just like, when I first saw it, I was like, wait, oh my God, I know that town. So yeah, that's fun fact for you. Another fun fact, best player in America. He was a centimeter away from breaking the all-time record for longest shot put throw from a high schooler ever. Son of a pair of shot put Olympians. He's actually like the Gatorade track athlete of the year in Missouri for his prowess at discus and shot put. He's giving up track to focus on football. Which, I mean, when I told you that he's a centimeter away from breaking an all-time high school throwing record and giving that up to focus on football, that's the elite level of this guy's talent pretty much everywhere. He had more than 400 pancakes in his high school career. Those are the blocks, not the food. And the sky's the limit. Like I said, he was the number one player in America for 9/10 of the cycle. He ends up number 4 on the composite rankings at the end of this cycle. He's a day one starter. He is, you do not pay what you had to pay to get this guy and not play him. Like Mario Cristobal got Penei Sewell, started him day one at Oregon. Got Francis Mauigoa, started him day one here. I don't know what it would take for him not to start as a true freshman. He is 3 years in the first round draft pick waiting to happen. Has all the physical tools that you could ever need. It'll be interesting to see where he lands with his specific position, whether that's left tackle, whether that's right tackle. There are people talking about potentially playing him at guard as a freshman and then kicking him outside. he's going to dominate wherever he plays. But yeah, no, this is the cream of the crop. People were talking about Miami didn't make a splash on signing day because there were no 5-star flips. There was no, oh my God, breaking news on ESPN and CBS Sports and Rivals YouTube. There was none of that. But that also is a credit to this staff that you got the number one player in America committed to you in July, set it and forget it, and there was no drama, no other visits, no other anything all the way through. This is a massive, massive get. I cannot overstate it, how huge, not only as a player, but like the magnitude of getting him on this roster and having a smooth recruiting ride all the way along. So you got to go check out that notebook. Jackson Cantwell himself quoted my tweet of the notebook and said it was the most comprehensive evaluation he's ever seen of himself. And if anybody ever wanted to see what he's all about, to go see that. That was some of the highest praise I've ever gotten for this blogging passion project that I do on the side. And I'm very humbled and grateful because I really put a lot into this. I mean, like 30 notebooks. Like if you think that I just started these last week, you're sick. 30 notebooks takes a while. And I do an individual one for every single player for the last 14 years that we've signed, with one exception, because I heard from 2 people who work for recruiting websites and 2 people who work for the program that we were not going to sign this kid. And then the kid signed a couple of years ago. And I hit them all back and I said, God darn it, there's only one player I haven't signed, done a thing for, but whatever. That's beside the point. Back to the offensive line. If one 6'8" tackle wasn't good enough for you, Brian, we have another one named Ben Congdon from Ohio. Tuscarawas Valley is the high school, a championship wrestler. He's a guy who skyrocketed after his junior year of performance on the mat and on the field. Miami got him down here, sold him the dream of coaching and development, sold his family on the academics and the scheme and cultural fit. And again, set it and forget it. This is a kid, again, he's 6'8". He's probably only 295 because he was cutting a little bit of weight to wrestle. This is a kid who's going to easily be 320 and has size, length, quick feet, and all different kinds of things that you want to need. He's more polished as a run blocker than pass protector at this point is Ben Congdon. So I don't expect him to play as a freshman, but I think that he's going to have a big role on this offense down the line and fully expect him to start in his career here. There's another player who could play tackle, but is probably going to kick inside the guard. Meet Joel Irvin from Fort Myers, Florida. He's pretty much a one-to-one analog for Anez Cooper, except for more built like Cooper now and not the 425-pound Anez Cooper who had to lose 70 pounds as a freshman to see the field. 6'6", 330, plays left tackle in high school. He plays some right tackle, but I could see him going inside the guard. In my perfect world, and what I think this coaching staff desires is that you're going to have Jackson Cantwell playing next to Joel Irvin for the next 3 to 4 years, just like Anez Cooper next to CC Maui Noah. Set it and forget it. He has elite talent, another blue chip guy. He can pass protect, but he's much better as a run blocker and has elite size. So you have that. So those are your first 3 offensive line signees. On top of that, you have Cannon Pickett, who is the brother of Booker Pickett Jr., who plays defensive end here, and son of Booker Pickett Sr., who played defensive end here previously at the University of Miami. So a double legacy with his brother and his father. Cousin of DJ Pickett, who made the choice to go to LSU instead of coming here, and nephew of Ryan Pickett, who played for the people in the state south of Michigan, and then was a first-round draft pick for the Rams back in the 90s, back in 99, excuse me. A family legacy football player, plays tackle at Tampa Tech, but he's going to scoot inside to guard, 6'4", 320. Probably a little bit further away from the field than like a Joel Irvin, but very, very quality guard prospect as the number 4 lineman in this class. Like if Cannon Pickett is like the number 4 lineman in your class, you're doing a really bang-up job in recruiting, man. Like, this is a kid who's 3-star, borderline 4-star, but like I think he has very solid potential. To be to the bottom half of an offensive line class, that really speaks to the breadth and depth of this class. Quickly to round things out, we have Reese Woodrow, R-H-Y-S, Reese, from Orlando Boone High School. That's a school that Miami rarely gets players from.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I've seen Jones and Evans, but Boone, I was like, Boone? Like, what? But yeah, 6'4", 310. He also played some tackle, but mainly played guard in high school. He's going to play guard here, 6'4", 310. Maybe you take one of the guards and try them at center because, I mean, there's 5 positions up and down the line and everything. But, yeah, he's another mean, ornery SOB in the run game. Like, yeah, you see guys get up, dust themselves off if they're getting planted by him on the field wanting to fight. And I like my offensive lineman burly and ornery. And Reese Woodrow is definitely that. That's 5, 6th, and finally, but again, a guy that you would like to have in any offensive line recruiting class, J.J. Sparks from Jacksonville Bulls, another school where Miami has had intermittent recruiting success. Another interior offensive lineman, 6'3", 300 pounds, is probably going to land at guard, if not guard, if not center. More of a run blocker than a pass blocker, but obviously all of them have skills in pass protection, but those will grow and develop over time. And yeah, a 6-man group with, I mean, just really, really, really incredible talent. So yeah, for my money, it's the best offensive line class in America, led by the best player in America, Jackson Cantwell, Ben Congdon, Joel Irvin, Cannon Pickett, Reese Woodrow, and J.J. Sparks, your offensive line class. In this class for the University of Miami, restocking that room on its own. And if you have any attrition, which you probably will from other guys in front of them, you've already covered that because you got 6 dudes. And even if you want to say, hey, I thought you said everybody needed to be able to help Miami win a championship of some kind of level, but there's 3 stars in this class and whatever. You know, if you really have a problem with it, you probably recruit over them in 2027 and have them seek shelter elsewhere. I don't think that they're substandard players. I don't think there's anything like that. Just addressing any concerns that people might have been hearing as they were going through. And those are your offensive signees from top to bottom. Whoo, buddy. Questions, comments, concerns, Brian?
No, I'm going to let you catch your breath. We're going to take a break on the other side. We're going to get through the defense, hopefully in a quicker manner, and also tell you about some awards and talk about stateoftheu.com. That more on the other side. You're listening and watching the Real Ones Canes podcast. Back here, segment 3, Real Ones Canes podcast. I'm the Beast, Brian London. Follow me on Twitter at Miami Radio Beast. He's Cam Underwood, managing editor, State of the U. Follow him at Underwood Sports. Stateoftheu.com, Cam, it is the best place to find your Miami Hurricanes coverage, open 24/7, 365, and it's free. And the amount of stuff that you guys have put up in the last couple of days, especially all of your 30 recruiting pieces on every single guy. If you want to know about anyone we're talking about, go read stateoftheu.com. Plus, there's all sorts of articles now up there, Cam, stateoftheu.com. We got postseason awards, all sorts of stuff going on at State of the U.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So that's the website. Craig T. Smith, he doesn't know if he wants prayer or pettiness to rule how this weekend goes. What does that mean? Go click on the website. This is Ruben Bain, award number 1, ACC Defensive Player of the Year, the single best defender in the conference, and we knew that, and now you have that confirmed. Another award or awards, Malachi Toney, ACC Rookie of the Year, and Offensive Rookie of the Year. So overall Rookie of the Year and the Rookie on Offense. Both of those were awarded to Mr. Toney. So yeah, just continuing to be, the elite player that he is. This right here on the left, I don't know if I can highlight it, that is your story stream with all of our recruiting content in one great place. So I did a running diary of when guys signed on signing day, all 30 notebooks, and I'm writing some other stuff with the recruiting commentary. It'll all go in there. So please go check that out. And then in order of when they officially signed, except for one, because I had to go tweak something for one player, a defensive player, are the notebooks. So you see, boom, boom, boom. And it goes on recruiting rules, I pin that, and on and on and on and on. So yeah, please come fan with us over State of the U. They're all there, an individual bespoke notebook about each and every individual player. Nobody else is doing that. Nobody else has done that kind of stuff. But before we move on, I want to talk about all ACC selections because Miami led the conference in those. And I'm actually going to go into the piece to show you. First team, wide receiver Malachi Toney, Jacobs Award winner, Francis Mauigoa. That's the award given to the best blocker in the ACC.
Yep.
Thank you. Ruben Bain Jr. and Akeem Mesidor. So the bookend 3 and 4 defensive ends, first team All ACC. Second team All ACC, Malachi Toney as the all-purpose player. So take away the receiver and put the slash player, and he made second team All ACC as one dude. How'd he do it? He's incredible. Who knew? Anez Cooper, Ahmad Moten Sr., Keontae Scott, and Jacoby Thomas, all second team. I think Keontae Scott got robbed the first team because they go with only 2 cornerbacks, not like 2 and a nickel. But he was the number 4 cornerback by raw votes. And Jacoby Thomas, I think, could have been first team, but whatever. Third team All ACC, Carson Beck, Mark Fletcher Jr., Markel Bell, James Brockermeyer, and Wesley Sainth. And honorable mentions, David Blade Jr., Mohamed Toure, Damari Brown, who I think was really underrated this season. He played a really strong year. Zach Poyser, also underrated, and Keelan Marion. So all of those, congratulations to all of those players, and twice to Malachi Toney for making both first and second team All ACC, your Miami Hurricane ACC Award winners and all conference players.
Amazing, amazing stuff. You talked about the defense as related to Ruben Bain and Akeem Mesidor and those guys. Let's talk about the defenders that are coming in. Let's start with the defensive line. I believe there's 700 that were recruited and signed, maybe 800. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure they don't have enough space in the building for the amount of defensive linemen that they signed. Is it 8 that they signed?
It's 7 because one guy is actually going to play linebacker, but yeah.
Okay, fine. Okay, 7 with an extra, possibly a linebacker. Holy heck.
Yeah, holy heck indeed. Really, really good players. You have Ashari Bam Charles from Venice, one of the most athletic pass rushers in the state. He had a bunch of sacks in his career, led the state in sacks last year, was second in sacks this year, 6'2", 230, very quick off the edge, and a solid wingspan, slightly smaller height-wise than you would like, but not, the smallest guy in the world. So, yeah, he's a very, very talented player. Opposite him, DeAnthony Lafayette from Orlando Lake Nona. He was your sack leader in the state of Florida this year with 17.5. Former LSU commit, 6'1", 230, but has a long wingspan. Really impressed Jason Taylor. He's another player, kind of like Darian Coleman, that I have concerns about a small player at that size. But if Jason Taylor is showing up and watching all of his stuff and saying, okay, this guy can play for me, he can play for me also. So those are your defensive ends in this class. Your defensive tackles, there are 5 of them, starting with Keyshawn Stansel from Clayton, North Carolina. He is a blue chip player, 4-star player, 6'3", 270, former Clemson commit who Miami flipped, an All-American type player. This is a guy who you should have really high expectations for. He should be a foundational player to the defensive line moving forward. He just maybe needs a little bit of development. But, look, Dante Simpson played as a true freshman. We saw what's going on with Ahmad Moten Sr., where he's already up to second team All-American, or second team All-Conference. You should be expecting those kind of things. Keyshawn Stansel, the sky's the limit for him. Also a defensive tackle, Logan Nagel from Wayne, New Jersey, 2-time state champ. Up there, he's a big body, 6'5", 280, former Pitt commit who we flipped a couple weeks before we played Pittsburgh. So thanks, Pat Narduzzi. Anyways, moving on. Isaac Chukwura from Bear, Delaware, your multiple-time Delaware Player of the Year, offensive line and defensive line, all-region Player of the Year, district. He just basically won every single award. I know that Delaware is a small state, but Isaac Chukwura was previously committed to Penn State and decommitted from them after they fired James Franklin. And then Miami was like, let's get that. And when you go into his notebook, there's several tweets that I embedded in there, which just categorize all of his awards that he's won recently, even awards that were awarded on Tuesday night. But since I was going and dotting my I's and crossing my T's, I saw that, put that in, and boom. So Chukwura is another guy along the defensive line and defensive tackle in this class. Also, we have Tyson Bacon from Hoover, Alabama. A little bit of an injury as a senior, but this is a guy with good potential on the inside there, 6'3", about 265, so you love that. And then last but not least, Frederick Saintius from Naples. He's a a recent Haitian immigrant. So he's only been here in America for 2.5, 3 years. Three-sport athlete, basketball, track, and football. Speaks 4 languages, Mario Cristobal said at his presser yesterday. So he said there's going to be somebody in the locker room that he can habla español with now moving forward and everything. But this is a big-bodied kid whose best football is in front of him. And you can see how he developed from a junior to a senior in his first 2 years playing football. But he's about 6'4.5", 6'5", 270 right now. More of a developmental guy. He's going to take a little bit to, tap into his athletic potential. But this is a guy, who has been a, lifelong athlete, just not playing American football until his family migrated to South Florida or Southwest Florida and everything. So, big bodies, great potential across the board. So those 5 dudes, defensive tackle, those 2 dudes at defensive end, Bob's your uncle.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Wow, just a fleet of defensive linemen. Let's move to we actually recruited linebackers.
Mm-hmm.
Like we actually got linebackers, including a kind of a surprise, but like a last minute linebacker. And that's amazing because we need that.
Mm-hmm. We do. And so we got 3 linebackers in this class that Miami are very excited about. Off-ball linebackers, like second-level linebackers. Let me see. Where do we start? Jordan Campbell from Miami Northwestern. This is a kid who was an All-American linebacker for Carroll City as a junior. He played at Hialeah American before that. He's actually played for 5 different schools over the last 5 years, but I digress. He's listed as an edge rusher because he went to Miami Northwestern and he played the same position as former Miami Hurricane and Miami Northwestern player. Remember Samuel Brooks years ago where he was an off-ball linebacker, but then, junior and senior year, they just said, hey, go get the ball. Northwestern loves doing that, and they've used Jordan Campbell in that regard. But Miami is going to play him at off-ball linebacker, which is, again, where he was an All-American for his performance at Hialeah American High School and then Carroll City. He's the player that I had to go back and just put a note and took a couple seconds to edit in view of him as an off-ball linebacker as opposed to edge rusher, because having watched his senior year film and then talked to a couple of people, I was like, okay, like, is this going to be a Sam Brooks thing? Like we're bringing him in to play edge, or we're bringing him to play linebacker? He was the first player, Jordan Campbell, to commit to this class as a sophomore. So way back in I think it was like February of 2023 is when this kid committed to the University of Miami and stuck with us the whole entire time. And he played off-ball linebacker then, and he's going to start at least playing off-ball linebacker when he gets here. Linebacker number 2, Justin Edwards from Orlando Edgewater. So we have Jones, Boone, and Edgewater all from Orlando representing this recruiting class. This is a guy who was formerly committed to Rutgers, but really popped in a camp on campus in the spring. Miami fell in love with him, flipped him. Very athletic guy, 6'1", 208, 210. So yeah, there's that. The last and final linebacker completed his flip, but we had a very good idea. He took an official visit starting on Saturday when Miami was playing Pittsburgh, and then continued that official visit when they came back and everything. Karsten Bush from Louisville, Kentucky, from St. Xavier High School, was committed to Louisville. Miami loved him, offered him this fall. Corey Heatherman really loves this guy as a middle linebacker prospect, and he decommitted from the hometown Louisville Cardinals last Tuesday. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, I'm going to take a visit to Miami. And then, yeah, it was pretty much foregone conclusion. 6'3", like 230. Like, honestly, when I watched the film, think a young Muhammad Toure before the ACL injuries from a physical standpoint. I mean, like, that kind of like, he should be the signal calling middle linebacker of this team, like that. And again, another blue chip player, 4-star recruit. So, yeah, and I hate Louisville. So going into Louisville to get a player who was committed to Louisville, like, come on. Like, there's few things that get better than that for me.
All right, let's look at the defensive backfield. I think it's 3 corners, 2 safeties, and a legacy player is in the bunch.
Indeed. We'll start there. Actually, no, we won't, because Mario Cristobal said he didn't want to have people think that we recruited the player because of his last name, because Cristobal himself hated that when people said that because Cristobal's older brother was already on the Hurricanes when he was being recruited. So we're not going to do that. We're going to evaluate everybody on their own merits. And when you hear the name, you will know who the legacy player is. Number one, J.J. Dunnigan from Manhattan, Kansas. His father previously played 1 year at Purdue in '99, transferred to K-State, and then finished up there. Was committed to Kansas. And so he's from Manhattan, Kansas, which is where K-State is. They did not recruit him. He was committed to the University of Kansas and was an All-American in last year's Under Armour All-American game. This kid's like 6'3", 205. Does it all, offense, defense, special teams. Led Manhattan, Kansas to the high school to their first ever state championship just last weekend. Had like 110 yards and 2 touchdowns receiving with like 5 tackles and some more stuff on defense as well. This, in case you were wondering, way back at the beginning of the show, wait, Cam likes a player in this class more than Jackson Cantwell? J.J. Dunnigan from Manhattan, Kansas. That is my favorite player in this class. He oozes swag. Like, he looks like Jacoby Thomas right now. Like, he's got that size. He caught a touchdown in the state championship game. He mossed a dude, turned, screamed in the dude's face. As he's celebrating, the dude does one of these kind of flops, doesn't even break stride, turns to the sideline and looks at the videographer and flexes over his prone body. Dog, I saw that play. That's the energy I need. Like, yeah, J.J. Dunnigan, I think the sky's the limit for this kid. Like, this is my favorite recruit in this class, bar none. I love this player. I can't wait to have him on this team. Oh, my God. And, like, him as the hammer and Bryce Fitzgerald covering the 2/3 of the earth that's, or the third of the earth that's not water in the secondary in like a year or two. Oh, boy. Yeah, no, J.J. Dunnigan, my favorite player in this class. That was the digression. I apologize. Jalen Seatbelt Waters, what a great nickname, from Sefner Armwood, the long 6'1", 6'2", 180 corner of the build that Miami has not really gotten often in high school recruiting. Yeah, we got Ethan O'Connor in the transfer portal this year, but like that elite cover corner build we have not gotten often. But then you go to Armwood again. So this is a year after we got Kellen Wiley, the 6'4", 230 linebacker, and Gerard Pringle Jr., your new starting running back from Sefner Armwood in the 25 class. We go back there again for Seatbelt Waters, who, by the way, was committed to Florida and Florida State previously in the cycle. So he sampled the wares of the minor two of the three major big three in Florida and lands with the best team. So he's another one. Another corner in this class from Charlotte Myers Park High School, Camden Portis. Yes, the son of Clinton Portis. Yeah. You do. That's your legacy player, but he is a player who's here on his own merits, exclusive of his last name. The last name part just kind of makes it great for us. He's more of your nickel corners, like 5'11 and a half, 185, 190 pounds, but another player who really showed great performance on the field, committed before or at the end of his junior year, and then took a step forward as a senior. So that's another corner in this class to go along with Waters. Cortez Ruddit. So in the last two, I believe, they are team. No, so Brody Jennings, from Jacksonville Mandarin. This is Bradley Jennings Jr.'s brother who previously played here. Bradley Jennings Sr. played at Florida State. Recently had just he passed away in the spring suddenly at a very young age. Oh. So, very challenging for that family. But the University of Miami continued to recruit him through that, troubling time, because he is part of our family from, with his brother. And just, we were already recruiting him and just continued that outreach and everything and whatnot. But, formally committed to the University of Michigan is Brody Jennings and everything. So he's a 6'1" corner with long arms also. One of the foundational players for Jacksonville Mandarin. They're, one of the premier teams in the northeast of Florida. He's coming down here as well. And the final two players in this recruiting class are teammates at Jonesboro High School. At safety, you have Cortez Redding, 4-star player. He was the regional defensive player of the year as a junior. He has 231 tackles in his last 2 years of high school. This kid, he makes his presence felt all over the place. I would say like Dunnigan is more of the ball hawk of the two, even though he's even bigger physically. But Cortez Redding, like whatever he hits, he destroys. So, enjoy that. And he also just, even if he's not blowing something up, he gets a guy on the ground, which, that's defense. You got to get dudes on the ground. And he's very well accomplished at that. Again, 231 tackles in the last 2 years. His teammate played quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, kick returner, punt returner, linebacker, safety, and cornerback, and is the two-time reigning Georgia Region Player of the Year for the region that they play in. His name is Jontavius Wyman. He's coming here to play cornerback at 6'1", 170, but he's, this is going to be an old reference because I'm a little older than maybe some people are watching. First base, Bugs Bunny. Second base, Bugs Bunny. Third base, Bugs Bunny. That's Jontavius Wyman, but he's the best player around. They were in Region 3 of 6A as a sophomore in high school, a sophomore regional player of the year. They reclassified, they redistricted things. It's Region 3 of 4A as juniors last year. Don't care. I'm still that guy, region player of the year again, and I'm probably going to win it for the third straight year this year. Like, this kid, when I looked at it, I was like, yo, what? Like, it's crazy. His offensive highlights are incredible. His defensive highlights are there in the same secondary as Jontavius Wyman, as Cortez Redding, formerly committed to the University of Georgia, one or both of those players from Jonesboro and coming down here. So, yeah, just an elite group in the secondary as well. I really like this recruiting class. But, yeah, my favorite player, I love Jackson Cantwell, and I can't wait to see him start, especially just because the swag of how he plays. James Dunnigan Jr., J.J. Dunnigan, that's my dude. The end.
No one could wrap up 30 players like that, Cam. No one could do it. Hey, if you want more on all the recruits, go to stateoftheu.com. Cam has put in a tireless amount of work, so go check it all out. Hey, join us on Sunday. We'll let you know. Follow us on Twitter, either at Underwood Sports or Miami Radio Beast or Real One Canes for the show. And we'll let you know what we're doing on Sunday, but I think we're doing a live show, and we will react live to the college football rankings, the final release. So we will do that. Hey, everyone, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe, please share, please comment, do all that stuff. And we will see you next time right here on the Real Ones Canes podcast. Peace.